To you all. I guess in some places in the world, it's probably good morning or good afternoon. This is Don with Sonoran Mystic Tarot. Thank you for popping in. And today I'm just popping in this evening. I'm popping in just to have a conversation about psychic gifts, mediumship skills, and the way in which people read tarot cards and how tarot works. We're not doing private readings. We're not doing the one-on-ones. We're not doing all that stuff. This is just an opportunity for you, if you're curious, to ask questions about psychic skills, psychic gifts, mediumship gifts, and of course, tarot. A lot of people love tarot. So, with that said, I will offer the first question actually, and that is what's the difference between a psychic and a medium? And that is quite an easy question to answer. A psychic is somebody who senses, knows, feels whatever skill they have, how they receive the message. The message comes in, but the message is about what is in front of them, the person they're reading. So it's something that's coming in their life or something that's happened in the past or how that past thing has created the situation they're in now. And again, maybe predicting of something that's happening in the future. So again, that's what psychic is. Mediumship is the ability to see dead people, pretty much. And that is see, hear, feel, whatever. That's the difference. One is about dead people and connecting to spirits of past or entities that have passed. To be a medium, you don't have to have somebody who has passed or has hello, clear, a clean music lover. Nice to see you. And to be a medium, you don't always connect to somebody who's passed. You can connect to an angel. You connect to an archangel. You can connect to another spirit or entity. And there are even people who connect to people from different dimensions and what they call aliens or ETs. So again, as a medium, you connect to an entity, a spirit, and then something that is not of this dimension or not even of this physical dimension. I'll put it that way. That's the very big difference between psychic and mediumship. When it comes to tarot is interesting because tarot is kind of like psychic and it is very intuitive depending on who reads it. Now, there are some very specific skills in tarot. And again, understanding the cards are important. But when you're reading the cards in tarot, the tarot is like a psychic in that sense. It'll tell you the past and present and can give you some predictiveness of the future depending on how good the reader is. But the cool part with the tarot card is that often the person who reads tarot becomes psychic or is already psychic. And again, you're usually everybody's born psychic. You just haven't developed it or you have developed it or whatever you think the situation is. But my point is very simply this, and that is when you are a tarot reader and you're putting down the cards, if you're just a basic tarot reader and you're just going through the motions, then you're not going to use your psychic skills. But if you are a tarot reader who really gets into the reading and really wants to learn how to understand what the cards mean, most often after you've learned the meanings of the cards and you start reading, spirit comes in while you're reading. Spirit gives you intuitive messages about what the cards say. And I can tell you a very specific point. There's certain cards that I use in tarot that do not mean the same for every reading, but more importantly, do not mean the same based on what tarot says. And so if you looked at what tarot and the rules of tarot would say, you would say, wait a minute, that's not what that card means. Well, it doesn't mean that in traditional tarot, but it will mean that to an intuitive reader. And a very good reader is usually an intuitive reader. A prime example, I see the Five of Pentacles. And when I see the Five of Pentacles, the Five of Pentacles is often considered, the grass is green on the other side. It's like the people, when you know the card in Rider-Waite, the person is usually walking along and they look unhealthy and they're walking in the snow and it's cold and they're at a church window and they're wondering how the grass is greener on the other side. And that is quite an interesting question mark. However, when they do look for the grass is greener on the other side, when I see that card, often that grass is greener question return is for me a return card. And it's like, what happened in the past? The grass was greener over there and now it's coming back to you. And is the grass as green as you thought it was because you're revisiting it? In other words, it's a return for me. So it means that somebody else is coming back into your life, somebody who's left your life. Now, they may have left your life for whatever reason. You may have sent them away. They may have sent you away. It doesn't matter. But the point is that generally speaking, for me, that return card is that 5. And that 5 then also does have traditional meaning, depending on how I read it. But that's the intuitive part. While I'm talking, don't be afraid to drop a question. just chat it in, put it in the chats, and I'll get to it. Absolutely. But I was just kind of trying to understand, help everybody understand how, again, psychic, how that is, how that works, and then how tarot works and how mediumship works. And again, to me, the tarot and the psychic stuff work hand in hand very well. The mediumship, again, is very different because the mediumship is, again, feeling or sensing or seeing or hearing a spirit. And there's often times where I'm doing a tarot reading and then a spirit will come in. And when a spirit comes in and I meet with that spirit and start talking to them, understanding what they want to say, and usually they come in for the person, the querent, they call it the querent, and that's the person who is asking the question of you. You're the reader, they're the querent. And so don't be surprised if often when you're if you're with a psychic and a tarot reader who also has some mediumship abilities, there are times where you're sitting there reading and all of a sudden the spirit comes in and spirit talks to them. And since they are a medium, they can pick up on that. And it's a quite wonderful thing. Now, the other funny thing is that if you're all psychics are psychic, of course, but all psychics are not mediums. Again, there's a smaller group of psychics who are mediums. And then there's something called channeling. And channeling is when you become the vessel for a spirit to come into you and speak through you. They kind of have control of your body for a period of time and they talk through you. Now, if you are channeling, if they come in through and they channel, then that is also a smaller sliver. So generally speaking, if you're psychic, you don't have to necessarily be medium. But if you're medium, you are always a psychic. If you are a channeler, you're always a psychic. And most often they say if you're a channeler, you're also a medium. I'm not sure I completely understand that. I can understand the philosophy to it, but I've met one or two channelers who really aren't good with the mediumship stuff. And so so I'm not sure that that's always the case. But generally speaking, again, all psychics are psychics. All psychics are not mediums, and all psychics are not channelers. All mediums are psychic, but not all mediums are channelers, and all channelers are supposedly mediums and psychics. Hey, LMT, how are you? You're up so late. What are you doing up so late? I love your pictures, by the way, LMT. The pictures you've been sending back have been great. Anyway, so if you have any questions in reference to, again, psychic work, mediumship work, and tarot cards, or anything in the metaphysical. Now, I don't really want to get into much about the astrology stuff because I really am not an astrologer. An astrologer is a very different skill set. And astrology is nothing, it's really not much to do with psychic. It's not much to do, with crystals and all those things, because again, that's a very different thing too. But when you do astrology, all you're doing is understanding how the planet alignments and the sun and solar system alignment, how that alignment impacts the individual on that day or any given day based on where the stars will be. And so again, it's all about alignment, and it's not really intuitive in any way because again, it's pretty much in reference to the placement of the sun, the stars, the moon, the planets, all those things that come to play. And so for me, that is not something I do. It's not something I really have wanted to do. And I have a very good friend who is super at it. I have two friends who are very good at it, but one is, they're both amazing. But the point is that I let that to them. I stick with the psychic and the mediumship skills instead. And I also am not somebody who channels. I do not channel. I leave that for somebody else who channels. And I know a number of people who do that and do that well. It's not something that I'm drawn to. Now, I tried it on one or two occasions, but I didn't like it, and it just wasn't my thing. So I didn't pursue it. I don't pursue it. The thing that I do pursue, of course, is the psychic stuff with the tarot cards as well, and then with the mediumship when it comes in. And I can tell you one thing that is amazing is when you are doing any of those three things, and you make that connection with the person you're reading, and you have the ability to deliver a message to them, a message they needed to hear. And they reach back and they say, you know what, you were right. Or even at the moment, they're like, everything you're saying is right. And it's something I needed to hear. It really is amazing. It's amazing because you're having an impact. You're having an impact on their life. You're having an impact on the people around them because, again, you're affecting their life. And so it is amazing to be able to have that conversation with someone, to tell them what you're seeing eventually tell them, and they tell you how it resonates, if it resonates, and then ultimately when they come back and say everything you said happened and happened the way you said it, it's really a very affirming situation. It makes you feel very, very, very good. And I absolutely love, though, where if somebody's sitting in front of me, and again, while I'm doing a tarot reading or where I'm doing a psychic reading, and the spirit comes in, and when that happens, because I feel all of a sudden, for me, if it's an older woman who comes in, I feel the temperature drop in the room. It's just like a boom, it plunges. However, if anybody else, it could be a male, it could be a child, whatever, the temperature goes up and I'm on fire, I'm hot. But there's something very specific about an older female spirit who does the opposite. And so when I start getting chills, I'm like, okay, I know it's an older female spirit, and this is how it's going to work. I've met a few in my previous house in Houston. I had an older woman, much older woman, who lived in our house with us. She was not alive; she was a spirit, and she would come to the kitchen and cook with me, and I would chat with her. She didn't chat back, but she was there, and I could smell her because I would smell her rose. She would have a rose smell when she came, and I would get very cold. And then I'd just chat with her, and she was there. And then one day she did show herself to me. But every night we would hear her go up the steps at 9 p.m. on the dot. And there was only 2 people in the house, and we were both sitting watching TV all the time. And the dogs would go crazy at 9. They would, I guess she was leaving through the entryway from the living room into the stairwell. And then she'd go walking up. And every night, 9 o'clock, they'd start getting restless, and boom. And you'd hear her footsteps up the door, and she'd open the door and go in. It was just a wonderful thing. Stephanie asks, how did you start reading tarot? Stephanie, it's an interesting question. I was so fortunate. My mom went to a tarot reader when I was 14, and I tagged along. And when we were done, my mom said, "You want a reading?" And I said, "I don't know. I don't know if I should do that." And the woman's like, "Yeah, I'll do a reading for him. I usually don't do young people, but I'll do him." And I got an amazing reading. The woman used a regular deck of cards, not a tarot deck, a regular deck of cards. And she was spot on eventually in life. She was spot on with everything she told me. She gave me short range, mid range, and long range things that were my benchmarks. And as I reviewed them over and over again, she hit them straight on. And I was always impressed with her. And then when I got my first job, I graduated at 16, and then I went to school to college, and so I had to work my way through college. And I worked at a store called Montgomery Ward's at 16, and one of the ladies that I worked with, she also read tarot cards, but she read, again, a regular deck of cards as a tarot deck. And so we were at a picnic one day, and she pulled out the cards and was reading people's cards, and she read mine, and she was amazing too. And I'm like, I've got to do this. I'm fascinated by it. I must do this. And so I get a deck of cards and started using that deck of cards, and that deck of cards taught me. And this was over 30 years ago, maybe even more. It's been a long time, maybe 40, 35, I don't know. Anyway, this is in the early 80s. This is because I graduated in 1980 at 16. And so that tells you how old I am. Anyway, so I would say 1981, 82, I started reading them. And then as I started reading them, I really started honing my skills. But it was interesting. I did not have the people to practice on, except for the family members, and not all the family members, but I would practice with people. And the thing is, if you don't practice your skills, you don't know what your confirmations are. Because again, your psychic vocabulary, your tarot card vocabulary, all those things, they are they take, again, you have to create your vocabulary, and you have to know that's what the vocabulary is by understanding what you're getting confirmation about what you see. So I did that, and then over time I was reading, and then I didn't do much reading. I became eventually an engineering technician and engineer. Went to Germany, and kind of did it a little bit on the side, but not much. But again, just for myself, and I have very close friends. But eventually, at one point, after I was an attorney, I'm still a licensed attorney, but I don't practice anymore. I really started getting back into it hot and heavy, and have really blossomed since, because I've put the work in. It's like anything else. I mean, when I studied to be the engineering, into engineering, I had to learn, and it bloomed. When I went to study for law, it bloomed. Anyway, so tonight, in the end, when I wanted to do this, it has bloomed too. So it takes time, it takes effort. Somebody asked earlier about readings, and I'm asking you to read what's below me. That's pretty obvious what I'm putting there. I'm not doing any tarot readings tonight. I just came online to just have a conversation about psychic mediumship and tarot and metaphysical gifts. And so that's all I'm doing. I'm not doing any readings. No readings tonight. Lord knows y'all give me enough. I do it Wednesday nights, Thursday mornings, sometimes other times, but not tonight. So sorry, Avinash. Sorry about that. Not tonight. Did you always get signals about spirit that helped you? Thank you, by the way, Whispering Wings Healing, for the question. Did you always get spirit signals about spirits that help you to differentiate one from another, such as the temperature dropping, or was that something that came with honing your skills? No, I don't recall in the past. What happened is again, I really wasn't in tune to my mediumship stuff. I kept telling everybody I wasn't, I couldn't, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And my mentor kept saying, yes, you are. You just don't really, you haven't embraced it yet. And, but I took a class from a guy there in Britain, in England, and it was a master class on honing your mediumship skills. And that class opened up so many passageways to me. And before I knew it, I was reading, I was getting spirits coming in. And so the skill was there. Everybody has the skill. It's just you have to learn to turn that switch and allow it to come back on, because often, usually we're born with it, and then as kids we turn it off because we're told we're crazy when we think we see something. We see a grandfather who passed or a great grandfather passed, and people are like, well, no, you wouldn't even know him. Well, apparently we do, and kids do very much see their relatives, and then parents often poo-poo it. And so it sends the child into a feeling of, okay, I need to suppress this because I'm crazy. It's not crazy. So in that sense, what I did is, again, I started honing it. And then I could tell very quickly, like I said a little bit earlier, when an older woman comes into my surroundings and she wants to let me know she's here, she helps when her presence drops my temperature. So the temperature gets really cold. But most every other spirit, my temperature goes up, and I'm like, I get really hot. I call it my what do you call it, solitary summer, because it's cold in the room, but I'm melting, and that's when I know that the spirit's there. And sometimes I see them now where I hadn't at one point. I never saw them. Sometimes I know they're there, but they're talking to me, or sometimes they're just downloading information to me. So I get a massive download of information. But what I always ask spirits, and especially when I'm doing mediumship, I always ask them to give me evidentiary information. I want to know something that no one else knows, so that when I offer that information to someone, they're like, oh yeah, okay, you're saying it's a grandfather. Well, everybody has a grandfather who passed. Not everybody, but you know what I'm saying. And so then I try to make sure that I ask them, give me something that's evidentiary, so I can make it clear to them that they know I am speaking to you and not somebody else, or that I'm just guessing, because I want to make sure that when I'm giving information, they're comfortable with knowing that I'm giving them real information. And so I've been blessed in the sense that when you ask the spirits to do that, the spirits will do that. They'll give you some evidentiary information. And this happened not so long. This happened this past week for me. I had a family member come in and visit me, and the family member, people had been seeing that family member behind me for the 2 days before, and then eventually they came in and they talked, and then they shared some things with me I didn't even know about them. And then when I connected to my family and asked them, what would this mean? And they're like, oh yeah, that means this. And yeah, didn't you know? I'm like, hell no, I didn't know. But it was good, because that was my confirmation. Rashmi, read please. We're not doing tarot readings or mediumship readings tonight. I'm just discussing the skills. Read the thing, please. How is mediumship different from being psychic elements, he says. The difference between, again, mediumship is being able to talk to, connect with, feel, get information from, or whatever, when it comes to spirits. You're welcome, Whispering Winds. Whispering Wings. The mediumship, again, is being able to connect with, talk to, whatever, a spirit. And that spirit can be a person who's passed. It can be an angel. It can be an archangel. It can be another entity. It could be even ET. They think people come from different dimensions, or our spirits come from different dimensions, and they visit us. And so It can be all those things. I even had the other day, I was doing a reading and I kept hearing this. I kept feeling this dog under me, and I thought my dog was there. And I'm like, wait a minute, he's in the crate. And I looked down and there's a little dog, a little terrier. And the woman I was reading the tarot reading for, actually, Angie was reading the tarot reading for her, and I was watching. And I asked her, does she have a dog? Did she have a dog that passed? And she said she did. And I'm like, and it was a terrier, and the terrier's name was Buster. And she said, no, it wasn't Buster, but it was a terrier. It was Butter. So I had one letter off, and I'm like, okay, well, this is a princess. You treat her like a princess. And then when she died, she was angry. She's angry because you replaced her with another one. You called it the same thing, but number 2. And she's like, it is true. So Keenan, please, if you do me a favor, everybody, look underneath of my face. See this? I am not doing any readings tonight. I'm just having a conversation. So I understand that you'd like a reading. Join us Wednesday evenings or Thursday mornings, and you can have your readings like I do every Wednesday evening or Thursday morning. There's no such thing as skill. There's only years observed. No, I do agree with you in a way, Bull. And the reason why I agree with what you say is skill, we're all born with it. We're all born with it. And I think that a lot of people tend to miss that. They think that it's amazing or wonderful. And I really think it isn't so much amazing and wonderful. It's just that we put the work in to develop that connection with spirit. We put the work in to develop the connection with the psychic ability. And again, psychic ability is just picking up the image or the energy around you. If I'm reading you, then what I do is around you is an energy that is like your life. It's like your life story. It's part of the aura. And so when I connect to that energy, it gives me a feeling. It lets me know what's happening in your world. It lets me know what your past is. It lets me know where you are now. It lets me know what it wants to allow me to share is the information in the future if it gives me that. And so yes, everybody has the ability. Everybody, I totally go. I understand where you're coming from, because it's an ability you can work with. I guess you could call it a skill, though, in the sense that it's an ability, but if you hone it, it becomes a skill. Otherwise, it's just an ability. Do you see what I'm saying? There is no relationship. I don't understand your question. There's no relationship. There's no such thing as skill. There is no relationship. I'm not sure what you mean. Help me. This Bull is just asking. He says there is no relationship. I'm not sure I understand what your implication is there. So help me out with that. Help me to understand what your point is so I can clarify it. But while you do that, I will go again back. So again, mediumship is reading, getting information directly from a spirit, directly from something that has passed, someone who has passed, or something who is not here in the physical world, but giving us information. And then the psychic stuff is all about, again, connecting with energy around the person you're reading and understanding their past, their present, their future, and whatever message you can get from their energies and then can share with them. Channeling, again, is the third thing, and channeling is the ability to be a vessel and allow some spirit to come in, pretty much control your body, control your voice, control your communication skills, and to talk through you to communicate to somebody or everybody. Again, I don't do channeling. I guess I don't do it because part of it's that surrendering my body, and it's like, ain't gonna happen. I don't want something in there. There is only perception of the aggressor's presentation. I don't know what that means. I have no clue. Bull, I have no clue what you're saying there. There is only perception of the aggressor's presentation. Where's an aggressor? I don't understand the aggressor. So, and then presentation, I don't understand that either. To imply the word aggressor, and maybe it's me because, again, my legal background, my legal training has taught me words are very specific and they have very specific meanings, and therefore I get tripped up on words from time to time because I really do dig down for a word. But anytime you use the word aggressor, you're using the aggressor lingo. Thank you for coming in. How rude of you. And so we're going to send you off. Okay. Anyway, anytime I see aggressor, I think of the word, I can't help but think of again, a conflict, because you're saying aggressor. So that's when you talk about aggression or aggressor. So I'm not sure that that's the word that maybe you mean, but I'm not sure what is meant by what you're saying. So I don't know. So anyway, that's the point. That's the point. When it comes to LMT, you're talking about the difference between the two. That's the difference between the psychic stuff is just pretty much, again, the energy around you and what's happening past, present, future. And the mediumship is connecting to a spirit. And for me, I find them both. I just love them both. I love to do them both. I love being granted the opportunity for a spirit. I feel like I'm a vessel, even with tarot, because I believe the message that comes through isn't my gift. Again, it's not my gift or skill, as we talked about, as Bull has talked about. It's more about the spirit using me to bring the information to you. And then when I talk, definitely as a medium, it's definitely a spirit using me as a vessel to communicate. The funny part is generally speaking, when you are a person who, a querent, as they say, again, the person asking the question, when you are sitting there and you and you come to me and you have a conversation, often I think that we lose focus, or the person who's asking the questions sometimes lose focus on the fact that, again, we're not giving you our information. We're not giving you what we feel, what we think, whatever. We're giving you information that we're receiving. And so we often read, when I read people, and when my friends read people, they say, they give you to remind you that this reading is from a spirit. And so we are just conveying the message to you. And so some people often get irritated when they get the question answered, but it's not what they want. I'm like, don't get mad with me, get mad with spirit. Spirit send the message. Jojo asks, do you ever get messages during readings that you decide you don't feel comfortable with relaying? Are there some subjects you tell spirit to keep private? Well, I don't tell spirit to keep them private, but that's on the second question, but that relates back to the first, because yes, there are things that I'm told in readings that I will not tell. I will not do it. And there was a mediumship read maybe a month ago. I was doing a mediumship read for someone, and the husband came in. And when the husband came in, the husband was making it clear that he knew that their daughter was in an abusive relationship, and that the son was reaching out. The woman's son was reaching out, and the father of the woman was reaching out. And again, the father was reaching out to his wife, who's still on the side, and so it's her daughter. And yet I couldn't. I used the terms. I used certain terms, and I used artful words to stress to her that she needed to reach out to the daughter. They had been estranged for a bit. And so I stressed to her that she needed to reach out to the daughter and have the conversation, just to say hello. I said, the daughter needs a mom right now. This really is important. You need to do this. Your grandson is asking this to happen. So you really need to do this. Your husband, who's passed over, is asking you to do this. But I didn't tell her that specific, that the daughter is being abused. But that is exactly what was happening, because I thought, in this platform, on the platform I was using at the time, and the people that were around us, it would not have been a positive thing. Now there is a time where I thought twice, but the person assured me that it would be okay. And I'm like, I don't know, this is quite heavy. And ultimately, on that one, I did decide to disclose what I was being told. And after the person was over their shock, they were puddles, because they were in a big puddle of tears, because it's the first time that somebody acknowledged what they went through. Now, this was somebody who was sexually assaulted over and over and over again by a family member, a grandfather. And when she went to tell the family finally that she was being sexually assaulted, the family blamed her and threw her out for lying. And so she was sent away from the family, cast away from the family. And she was like, what the hell did I do? It wasn't my fault. But the family blamed her, because they said, you're lying, it couldn't happen. Anyway, I saw it, and I knew exactly what he had done and so forth. And I didn't want to discuss it with her, but she made it very clear to me. We were in a psychic circle, and she was one herself. and she made it very clear that she was very comfortable with me going there, because if I'm telling her this, then she needed to hear it. And being a psychic herself, she was ready for it. And then I kind of hinted where I was going, and she said, no, spit it out. And she finally, and she told me it was a release for her again, because it's the first time that somebody understood, appreciated, and spoke out the fact that they know that he did what he did, because the family members were all very supportive of him and threw her out. So finally somebody came and supported her. And the worst part is I saw so many images of what was happening. And then it was interesting because a number of weeks later, we were doing an exercise and she was back in class and she showed me a picture and she said, what do you think? She handed me the phone and I'm like, take it. I don't want it. No. I said, this is evil. This person is true, pure, black, dark evil. And I said, that's who did. And she's like, yeah. I'm like, yeah. This is, and I could tell him to a T. So it was crazy. But yeah, there are times where I will not tell people because I don't think it helps. Or if I do, I will go in a way that leads them a little bit to water and then they can act on something. But I don't. There are times where I will not give them the specifics. I will not go there because I'm not comfortable with it. And I don't know if it's going to help them at that moment. But even if it did, there are times where I just can't do it. I won't do it. And it's hard. It's hard. It says, Bull says, dear novices, watch the TV show Chuck, Stargate Universe, and the movie Game, or otherwise ignore everything this gentleman is saying. Well, I appreciate that, Bull. You're welcome to your own opinions. Again, it's wonderful that you would come in again to my house in this sense and have this conversation and try to refute it. This is my experience. Your experience could be very different. And I'm not telling you what your experiences are and how right or wrong they are. But if you're telling me that, I watched a TV show and these TV shows told me everything I need to know, well, guess what? I can assure you it's more than a TV show that teaches you what to do. And I live this. I live this every day. I do this every day. I do tons of readings and I have lots of success getting the message right, getting the spirit right, and having that communication. So the reality is as I look at you and see your message, and it's like, watch a TV show, and that TV show is going to tell you that what I experience is not what I experience. Come on, Bull. I mean, what you're talking is bull, because that doesn't make sense. And I don't mean to insult you, but you did kind of insult me. So I don't know. Anyway, you are a false prophet. I really should shut up because you are ignorant undercover psychiatrist. No, I'm an attorney, ass. Get it right. I've already told you I'm an attorney, not a psychiatrist. Damn, boy, if you didn't want to hear this information, why did you come in? Again, I'm not forcing you to be here, but if you're going to be here, maybe you should open your mind a little bit. And I know it's small. It's probably small and like other parts of your body and pretty narrow. But the reality is that if you open up your mind and listen, just listen a little bit about what I go through and what I'm experiencing and how I'm offering my information to other people, maybe you just might learn something. You may want to learn just a little something instead of coming in here and being disruptive, and you say I'm a false prophet. I'm not a prophet at all. I never said I was a prophet. I am not a prophet. But then again, is there a false prophet? I don't know. Undercover psychiatrist. Thank you, Bull. Hey, Australia. Welcome in, Vanessa. Nice to see you. Yes, thank you, Bull. I guess I am. But I think again, if you're so closed-minded that you can't listen and try to understand what I'm saying, then truly I don't understand why you're here, why you're wasting your time. And you're definitely wasting my time, because the reality is that, again, I'm trying to help other people understand what it is I do, what it is psychics do, what it is mediums do. And you're coming in, with a closed mind, and you just truly don't want to understand. You initially seemed like you did want to understand, but you're right. I don't watch your TV shows. I don't learn from your TV shows how to be what I'm supposed to be, because that's not life. That's not real life. And maybe if you got out of your basement and off of your computer and off of your TV and got into life, maybe you would also understand what it would be like to truly embrace these skills. Maybe you're afraid to hear that you have them. Maybe that frightens you. Oh wow. Oh my goodness, you're just and very childlike too. How old are you? Maybe 16, 15, 14? I don't know. Anyway. Oh, crazy. Right. Yes, yes. Well, it's like you get them in here and it's I don't have a problem with people. It's just, but I don't, they don't have to come in. This is the Vanessa. Yeah, the religious people can't do or don't want to believe in psychics. They are brainwashed by their religion. Yeah. I don't trash them for their religious beliefs. I don't trash them for what they believe or what they may think or whatever. But it's funny how I don't have a problem with them believing what they believe, but yet they seem to have all kinds of issues with everybody else. And it tells you something. It's like, if you have confidence in your faith, then you're not afraid of other people's beliefs and so forth, because they can't shake yours. And the one thing that I know is that what I do and how I do it, it has worked for years and it has helped a lot of people for years. So I don't fear having the conversation with people. I do get irritated when it gets to a point where it's just silly. But yeah. So Vanessa, it's funny how religious people tend to be the most closed-minded. And I don't have a problem with them. It's a funny thing. I used to be very religious. I used to be very big into the church, and at one point they thought I'd be the next pastor of my church. And I'm like, yeah, that's not going to happen. But I did love the church and I love religion, but I don't love organized religion. And that was a problem for me because I saw some of the flaws that I believed were in organized religion. And most importantly is that I think, again, everybody has this ability. If we believe that God only talks to one person, like a priest or whatever, or a minister or whatever, it's like, no, your God, your deity, your spirit, whatever, they talk to all of us. And we're guided every day by them. And if we don't open up our mind to it, if we don't listen, then why? It's interesting. We're given this gift. It's a gift. It truly is a gift we all get. But if we shut it down, then how does that make sense? Because again, that gift is given to us. That gift is strong. That gift is real. And to hear Spirit tell you something in advance and saying, guess what? This is coming. Please be careful. Or this is coming, get ready to celebrate, or Spirit saying, call your mom or have a conversation, and again, my mom is who I got my psychic abilities from. I remember many incidences with my mom when I was growing up that made it very clear she was psychic, but she didn't call it psychic. She never did. She was from the country and she called it just intuition or just knowing. That was it. But because that word frightened her, I guess, or maybe it never made her feel uncomfortable based on her background. But at the same time, I can tell you it's amazing, and it is a gift when you open yourself up to it. It is a gift. So anyway, with that said, it's funny. Let's see if there's anything else before I go. I'm trying to think of what I didn't touch on. The interesting thing is when you talk, again, the fun thing with tarot is, for me, tarot is my energy organizer. I'm an energy source. And so often when I'm really kind of feeling low energy, I'll start playing with tarot cards. I'll start shuffling them and the energy flies. Now, often I can do shuffling of tarot decks and the psychic readings will start. The psychic hits will be amazing. And again, it's because the act of shuffling or something like that. And it's a wonderful thing. Yes, organized religion is regimental, whereas spirituality is being open-minded. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well said there. Absolutely. And it's interesting because when I shuffle the cards, the energy starts coming in. What happens is when spirit is at a higher vibration. And so when you're talking to somebody who has passed on or somebody who's coming back in, they're at a higher vibrational level. You've got to raise your vibrational level up as well, because we are always down here pretty much and they're here. And so one of the ways to do it is music or again, activity or whatever. But you got to get rockin' music. You can't get really sedentary music because that doesn't work. It's like get the vibration up, get things moving, get your body moving if you need to. And once you get your vibrational level up to a certain point, then spirit can communicate with you, and they do. So it is interesting how on Wednesday nights, I have a moderator who moderates our readings on Wednesday nights, and it allows me the freedom to read the questions and stuff, but at the same time to connect and have it focus more. So often on Wednesday nights, spirits will come in and I'll do mediumship on Wednesday nights. On Thursday mornings, it's much more difficult, and it doesn't happen often because on Thursday mornings we have no moderator, so I have to keep track of the people as they come in, what their questions are, who's next in line, answering all the questions, and therefore with all of that distraction and focus, I can't focus on doing the readings as well as for spirit, as a spirit, getting a mediumship hit. And I've noticed that over time, again, my mediumship hit, unless it's something really specific that they want to know. And there are people who just, the spirits come in and they're like, you need to tell him this, and you need to tell him that. And the other funny thing is that often spirit comes in. Sometimes the psychic stuff will do the same thing, and you'll get a visitor from a spirit that they did not know the individual you're reading, but they do know all the information about him because they're a family member who passed maybe a generation or two ago or three that they never knew. But they'll go and they'll call their mom, or they'll call their dad, or they'll call their aunts, whoever's around, and say, did we have whatever? And they're like, oh yeah, that was whoever. And they're like, wow, I told the guy I didn't know it wasn't real. And it's like, well, but it is. So often that happens, which is kind of funny. It says, does a chill and head ringing mean there's a spirit around, or is it different for each person? Antique antenna, there is a difference from person to person, but generally speaking, when you feel the chill or you feel the heat, usually the chill and heat are definitely indicators that spirit is probably there. Now, the head ringing, I don't know what that could be, and again, that could be the way in which you received your gift. I don't know, and that could also indicate that is too, because again, everybody receives differently. But definitely the chill, for me especially, if it's an older woman, I get a chill. If it's anybody else, I get heat, lots of heat. And so that's how it works for me. So I would guess that the temperature is probably definitely an indicator, and the head ringing could be as well. The best way to acknowledge it or to know it is that when that happens, speak out and ask, is there someone here? Actually speak it and say, hello, is there someone here? Is there someone who wants to communicate with me? And one of the things you can do is take a piece of paper and scribble if you want. That helps, again, raise your energy vibration. Shuffle some cards, raise your energy vibration. Turn some music on that's pumping up a volume and get some energy flowing. And don't be surprised if with the energy, you're raising your energy and you ask that question. Don't be surprised if either you get a download that you just know that somebody's there, or you'll hear them speak if you have that ability, or you may even see them. They may even appear. Very seldom do I see one that appears. Often I do hear them. And then most of the time, I just know it. All of a sudden, I get all this information. So that's the kind of the way that works, but it's always different from one to the other. You just don't know what's going to happen for you at that time. So for you, they could be both. Both things could indeed be real in that sense. Vanyika, hello, Vanyika. Welcome in. Well, it's let's see, we did 43 minutes. I'm going to go a little longer, and then I'm going to call it quits. There was something else I told myself I wanted to make sure I also clarified about, again, the psychic stuff and the psychic skills, and I can't recall exactly what it was. I'll remember it once we're done. That's for sure. You're welcome. I can't recall what it was, but the one thing I can tell you about the psychic skills is that it's not a parlor game, and it's not something that is trite and silly. It is amazing. You will make mistakes. Every psychic will miss things. It's not unusual. So there's never 100% accuracy on any of us. And so people sometimes fuss about it, and they're like, well, whatever. I'm like, think of a basketball player. How many times do they shoot that basketball rim before it goes in? Never are you 100%. And same thing with psychics, and the same thing with mediums, But the one thing that you do is the more that you go out there, the more that you test your skills, the more that you practice them, the more that you understand your vocabulary, the better you get at understanding what it is you're getting. Often it's not what you're getting. It's how you interpret what you're getting. It's how you understand what it is you're receiving, and then what that message is that you can then send back. So that is the complication that comes into play, generally speaking. So when you're coming into your skills, when you're opening your skills up, the most important thing to do is practice them, and practice them with people, and then ask them, does this resonate with you? And again, one of the things like purple, if the color purple means something to you, then that when you see somebody else and then you see purple, you can ask them, what does purple mean to you? And then you're like, or whatever. Or you can, again, sometimes it's about what they're seeing or what you're feeling with them, but most of the time it's about what it means to you. So if you are somebody who, when you see red, you think of anger, you think of energy, or you think of passion or something, then when they have it, you say, okay, this is what I'm seeing for you right now. You're in a passionate moment. You're very fired up or whatever. And then they say, oh yeah, I am. And then you learn that is one of your vocabulary words, and you make sure you note what your vocabulary is, and you grow that vocabulary over time. You grow it over time after getting confirmations on more than one occasion. Again, one confirmation is not enough. You need more. And the funny part is as you become better at your skill set, the one thing you ask them not to do is you don't want them to make your reading fit them. So it's like, oh, well, maybe, it's like, okay, I'm seeing, I see that you're going through this and there's an aunt or whatever. I was like, well, but I did have an aunt once, but I don't have an aunt now, but it could be that meant that aunt. It's like, no, don't try to squeeze it in and make it fit. Either it fits or it doesn't. And down the road, because they told you that's not what it meant, then you say, okay, when I see this again, I'll figure out what it means by asking over and over. And again, eventually, once you get 2 or 3 hits that means this, X means X and Y means Y, then you learn that that's what your message means. When I get a brown cookie, the cookie is like this. It's a square cookie. Every time I get that brown cookie that appears, that means my grandmother. And so that means the person I'm reading for, it's about their grandmother. And it's usually a grandmother on the father's side, because my grandmother on the father's side made these special cookies that nobody else makes. They have a unique flavor that nobody else makes in the entire world. And this is not, just rhetoric. This is real. Their cookies are just very unique. And so when I see that cookie, I know exactly who I'm connecting to. I'm connecting to the grandmother on the father's side. And that's because I know that's my vocabulary for that. When I have a reading and I'm getting some kind of energy about X or Y, and I'm like, oh man, okay, this is what I'm getting. And when I see this, and one time was again about my brother. It's like, okay, my brother is this, and he's coming in, and with him being this, then this is this. And at that time I was looking for a name, and I said, so my brother's name is Robert. And so I'm guessing so what I'm getting is the person I'm talking about to you is your son, and your son's name is Robert. Is that the case? It's like, yeah, that's my son's name. I'm like, okay, good, because that's who I'm talking about. And again, so there's very many ways in which we get the signals, we get the messages, and then those messages connect. But it's fun. It's liberating. It's frustrating from time to time. But the learning aspect is amazing, and I love learning. I love to learn. I have so much education already that it just like the more education is better. But this is the education of life, and again, it goes back to like Bull was saying, and trying to be obnoxious about it, and that is again, he can watch a TV show. He gave 3 shows, and he said, watch those, and this is not real. Well, guess what? I'm telling you, TV is good, but once you live it, there's no exception. There's no replacement for it. And I've seen a lot of the stuff on TV, and a lot of it's crap, and a lot of it's close, and a lot of it's right on target. If you watch The Medium, if you ever watched The Medium, that show is a good show. It's a very close to reality when it comes to me and what I see. Again, because often we see something, but we can't quite make out what it actually means all the way. And so if you notice The Medium, often she gets the messages, but she gets messages and then she has to figure out what they mean, and she could be wrong. And often she is, until she finally hones it in and say, oh, this is how it clicks. So there are some shows that are useful, but again, the ones he mentioned, not so much. This is a different situation. So with that said, I'm going to call it quits for the night. I hope you've gotten some information that's useful for you. I hope you're able to get some questions answered for you. I'm going to pop back up from time to time and give more information about these topics and other things. And so when I pop up, you're welcome to ask more questions, maybe even have some ready for me at the time. But with that said, I'm going to let you go to bed if you're going to bed. If you're in another part of the world where you're just getting up or having your midday, well, then enjoy your day. It's a Saturday for you already, since you probably are ahead of us. So with that said, I'm going to let you go. Good night, everybody. Have a nice evening and sweet dreams.